Brian Giles with Brian Giles MTG. And this is the second video in the Unfinity Mark Rosewater text spoiler. Because this set is so unique and, kind of crazy, silly, there's a lot of these little text spoilers here, and I've had to break it up into multiple videos. So this is the second video, and we're going to move on and start off. Okay, here's some rules text that will be showing up on cards. Now, rules text is like stuff that you see, in parentheses that basically explain what certain things do. We'll start off with an opponent tells you a statement about themselves and secretly notes whether it's true or false. That's very ungame, unset flavor type of thing, Next up is each player in an ungame who can hear you may bid life. Now, I think they put this in because, certain LGSs were doing actual untournaments. And this plays into that mechanic of everybody that can hear you can bid life and change the result, I guess. That's more unset silliness. People around you and things around you matter. Next up is where X is the greatest number of stored results on it of the same value. Okay, so you're gonna have different stored results on a thing, and but they have different values. Next up is except by creatures with flavor text. Now, recently in Dominaria United, they did the Legends Retold, and one of them, Jasmine Boreal, was a character that cared about vanilla characters. Now, vanilla characters are characters that didn't have any type of abilities. That generally just had flavor text. Now, there were a couple of cards that were blank. I can think of one of the Garruk's Harbinger, or one of the Garruk cards. One of the Garruk's partner cards from Magic. M21 had it was just a blank box. There was no flavor text. Flavor text is something that gives you kind of a description about the card, about the character that's on the card or whatever. That's that it's basically to enhance it and fill in space, basically. But again, this might be useful for something like Jasmine Boreal is a card that cares about vanilla cards. Okay, next up is for each item that in its arts that's not touching card name, another item, or the card frame. So, this might have to do with the whole sticker mechanic type thing. Because we have stickers in this game. You have to put stickers on your card. Next up, as long as card name remains tapped, that effect doesn't end. So usually, probably an effect that normally ends at the end of turn. But if you tap this, whatever, that effect doesn't end. Next up is as card name enters the battlefield, choose a word with 5 or more letters. Letters matter, and I'll get back to that in a little while. Next up, target non-brushwag creature. Now, brushwag got to be kind of a bit of a meme because it was a funky little creature that it was really nobody cared about. Even its text says the you don't worry about the brush rag until the brush rag gets big, or you know it just it doesn't look like it's really anything, but it's really a crazy thing. So again, they're troping on the brush wag. Ask a person outside the game to choose which of them is most like a rock band. Again, people outside the game matter. Next up is using first letters of the names of permanents you control. Again, letters matter. And again, when we get to the point of what I'm talking about, it'll all become clear to you. Letters matter. Next up is as long as 3 or more hands are touching card name. Again, this is part of the unset silliness. You got to touch stuff. Your environment matters. Don't be playing with Cheeto fingers. No Cheeto fingers allowed here. Next up is first strike and a sword, vigilance and a shield, and menace and mean eyes. Again, more unset silliness regarding mechanics that you normally see, like first strike, vigilance, and menace. Next up is with the same artist and different names. So artists matter. So the artist that does artwork for the cards, they matter. Next up is hashtag guess that magic card and no other text. So guessing games are, that fits the flavor of the carnival theme, as well as the unset silliness. Next up is any number of printed clown robot tokens that aren't touching each other that you hit on the battlefield. Now, because this is a space carnival, you're going to have these clown robot, and we're going to have clown robot tokens, and you hide them on the battlefield. And as long as they're not touching each other, and then they have to be printed. The printed ones actually. So you can't use proxies like dice or whatever. They have to be printed clown robot. So again, more Unfinity silliness, flash mob type thing. Next up is choose A through M or N through Z. Again, more of these letters matters. And I'm going to get, when we get to the final part of this, I'm going to explain it to you. And I really hope that they do this. Next up, if cracks in card names art are completely covered. And again, this might have to do a lot with the sticker mechanic and covering cracks in the card art of this particular card. Next up, an opponent chooses the fastest, the scariest, or the weakest. Again, more pick'em type things that you would kind of see in a carnival or circus setting. And again, more. This is on point with the unset silliness that you get. Next up is as card name enters the battlefield, choose a named magic character like Karn or Joyra or Shieldred or a Johnny or Jace or and like a named legendary character, which might be a useful card in actual real Magic sets, so that you're playing a commander deck and you know what's going to be in your opponent's deck is. And finally, for right now, we have when you draw yourself, you win the game. So do you actually have to draw yourself on a piece of paper, and you draw and you put it in your or on a card, and you put it in your deck, and if you draw yourself, you win the game? Uh, this is unset silliness. So who knows what goes on there? So that's it for video number 2. We're at 11 minutes. We're going to stop it here, and then we're going to move on to some reminder text. So until the next Unfinity Mark Rosewater spoilers.